You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to rest.
Hi everyone, welcome from your Intuition Queen to another episode of Intuitive Queens and Kings, because today we have another male guest, John Fenton, who is an executive coach, a best-selling author, and award-winning speaker. Hi, John.
Hey, Maura, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me on your show today.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to hear your story and all the things along the way. So you're now an executive coach, but you've not always been that. And I know you have a great story from when you were back in high school or junior high school.
Yeah.
And I'd love you to tell us a little bit about you and your story and how you got to become an executive coach and what does that mean for you?
Great. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate being with you today and all of your viewers and subscribers. Yes, go all the way back to, I won't go back to the beginning when I was born. We'll go back to my junior high days, middle school days. And, I was not very athletic at all as a young boy. And athletics was a big part of the community I lived in. I grew up in the Miami, Florida area near Miami. I just didn't have an inclination. I was way overweight for my age group. I was about 30 pounds heavier than the boys my age. So I never played any organized sports really at any point in time. But the very big thing back then was a test that all the kids in school had to do, which was the President's Physical Fitness Award. And they would test your different skills. And I failed miserably in that test. And so I got to, that was in sixth grade, the end of grade school, grammar school, if you will, and got to junior high school. And it was a very big thing the school that I went to was very proud of the fact they had the most award winners in the county year after year. And they would paint, the award winner would get a presidential seal for like a patch for their sweater or their jacket. And it was the same as the presidential seal, United States presidential seal. And so the school, when they would win most of the awards, they would paint this big emblem of the seal on their building with the year that they won the most awards in that year. And so it was a very big deal. And so we had physical education class in those days, every day in school. And we had an obstacle course that we had to run as part of our warm-up. And at the very end of the obstacle course was a green wall. And being unathletic or inathletic and overweight, I could not get over the wall. I didn't know how. And so I felt bad about that. And we were in these platoons, or these groups of boys based on our performance the year before in the testing. And so the boys who won the top award had gold t-shirts, and then the second group of boys had blue t-shirts. They did really well in the testing, but not as good as the gold t-shirt boys. And then the red t-shirts, another group of boys based on their testing scores. And after that, there were no more t-shirts other than white t-shirts. All the boys who failed miserably had white t-shirts. And so I was with the white t-shirt boys. And so one day, and coach would make us run around the field a lot of times. And I hated running. I'd run way in the back of the group and I would complain and whine. Why are they making us do this? And I hate this and I don't like it. And so one day, one of the gold t-shirt boys says to us boys in the white t-shirt group, he says, "You're nothing but a bunch of cream puffs." And I love pastries. I love cream puffs.
Of course.
And of course, and I looked around the other boys in the group that I was with in the white t-shirts, and not that I was any better than them, but that didn't define who I was. That comment just landed with me. And so I went home and I thought a lot about that. And I had this epiphany. I just had this moment in time when I call them defining moments. And I had this moment in time where I chose to think differently, and I chose to push myself way outside my comfort zone and challenge myself, because I was really kind of angry. I was really pissed off at these boys to say to myself that, you're no better than I am. Yeah, you won that award, but you're no better than I am. I'm not less than. And so I just decided I was going to win that award. And I decided, as part of that, I decided to not run way in the back of the pack and whine and complain anymore. I was going to run near the front of the group and push myself to do better. And I also set about trying to master and accomplish the obstacle course and the green wall. And I lived right across the street from the school, and I could see the field. I could see the obstacle course from the corner of my front yard. And on weekends, I would go and I would practice running that obstacle course.
Okay, so let me stop you there for a second,
Okay.
because how old were you?
What, like 13, 12 or 13?
And like you talk about this moment, defining moment, and switch it completely from not caring to going for it. What was that for you? What exactly do you remember how you felt? What do you remember? What made you? Yes, of course, the comment and the angry towards the guys that were winning and were taking the piss, but there must have been something else behind that made you want to switch from a day to another and be like, okay, I'm going to be committed now and I'm going to make it.
It's almost like divine intervention. I just had this, I started to see myself in a different light. I think I was more a complainer and a whiner and doubted myself a lot. I can't do that. I'm not capable. I'm not able. And I think the fact that I think that anger propelled me to have more courage. I think courage is really a tipping point between human emotions. And I had the courage to push myself way outside my comfort zone and have the idea without any validation from anywhere. I had no encouragement. I had no one tell me, yeah, you can do it or anything like that. But I had this idea that I'm going to win that award. Like I just had that knowing that I'm going to do everything I can to win that award. Now, I may not have won that award, but I did win that award. It took me almost 2 years. So it wasn't instant gratification. It wasn't overnight success, but it was just determined effort to do that. And I think once I started to take that next step and to actually run near the front of the pack, as opposed to running way in the back, and to stop whining and complaining and just accept where I was at. Looking back, I have that understanding. Back then, I was just doing it, right? I was just living it. And I think as I continued each day to practice and to really just put myself forward, that my mindset changed almost overnight. My mindset changed overnight. Now, the results took almost 2 years, right? But my mindset changed and how I saw myself was different. And at the same time, physically, my body was changing and I was growing. And I did not even realize it. I was unconscious about that. And I just kept putting myself out there with the idea that I matter. I'm not less than. That I matter.
That's important.
Yeah, that I matter. That I have a voice, and you're no better than I am. And I took that. Not that I was. You can take anger sometimes and take it to an extreme, right? I used anger as a way to motivate me to move forward and to get into exhibiting courage for myself to take that step and to do better and to be a better person. And just the fact I had set a goal and I started to work towards that goal and I started to see some improvement. I started to do better on the obstacle course and I was running became easier over time. The longest time I hated running. And it became a little bit easier as I continued to push myself because I said, okay, it's a mile. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to be forever, right? And I can do this. And so I started to build confidence, more and more confidence. And ultimately I was able to manage and to master that green wall to where at a point where I could never get over the wall, I was actually able to climb that wall very effectively and accomplish it. And those little successes, I think, really gave me much more confidence. And courage.
I really like that you said the anger propelled you to move forward and to put your attention and focus just on that. Because I think that we speak a lot about anger as a bad thing that we need to release and ego as a bad thing that we need to release, but really it depends on the situation. In your case was what moved you to be a different person, to be a better person. So I like this concept of your story because it's a different way to see anger and ego as if, okay, this is it. I'm going to release my anger. looking in a different direction and working on myself in a better way.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. So I read a book recently by Esther Hicks and her husband. I forget the husband's name now. And it's called Ask and It's Given, I think is the name of the book. And they talk about the range of human emotions, right?
Yeah.
And at the very top is joy, fulfillment, gratitude, and appreciation. And, they talk about using anger in a positive way. Anger. So there was a gentleman who wrote a book. His name is Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote Power versus Force. He wrote very many books. And he wrote about Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins, not Stephen Hawking's, and not the astrophysiologist.
I'll put the name down here, right. So then we don't make mistakes.
Right. So it's David Hawkins and Power versus Force. And he did a he used body testing, kinetic testing to measure human emotions. And he created a range based on an algorithm of human emotions. At the very lowest level was guilt and shame. The very highest level was, joy and, appreciation and gratitude and enlightenment or fulfillment. And in between are a whole range of other emotions. And the tipping point is courage. And so near the tipping point is there's anger and pride and then courage, I think is the order. Below that is, shame and guilt and blaming others and that sort of thing. And that's where I was living my life, was in that lower level of emotional state and really not thinking I was worthy. And I had that epiphanal moment that, hey, wait a minute, I am worthy. And that gave me the courage to keep pushing myself outside my comfort zone, it changed my whole life. That moment in time, it changed my entire life. And I've continued to always keep pushing myself outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I went to high school and went out for the American football team because that was the first thing on the schedule and the calendar. And I wanted to be active in my high school. I didn't want to just be sitting around, and really wanted to play basketball. But football came first. So I went out for football and I actually did pretty well, even though I never really played football other than watching on TV, and did pretty well with it and was continued to get better and better. And my team was very successful. We were state champions and undefeated. And I was being highly recruited, one of the top 20 recruits in the state of Florida to go to college. Wow. And I had several universities that I visited, and I chose the University of Miami in Florida, which is close to where my parents lived. And, that was not the most popular choice at that time because this university football team was not very good. But I followed my gut instincts, my intuition, if you will. I know you're the intuition queen, right? So it just felt right. And I couldn't even explain why. And a couple other reasons. My parents, it was relatively close to my parents' home. So I knew they could see me play on Saturdays. And they had a great tradition at the university from years before, guys going on to the next level and having winning teams in the past and going to the NFL, to the pros. And so I had that, I never had that thought. When I started in high school, my freshman year, I had no thought of going to college to play football. Had no thought of going to the next level, to the NFL. But by the time I got to my senior year in high school and I was doing really well, I started to have those ideas and those dreams and visions. Anyway, so, we did very well, and I was highly recruited and went to the University of Miami and had a very successful career there. And played at a very high level of college athletics. Had you known me growing up before high school, you would have never even thought that I would have played high school football, let alone play at a collegiate level with one of the top teams in the country. We finished 18th in the country. We had 9 wins my last year, and set the tone for future success for that program. And I played all 4 years, and I actually got redshirted. So what they call red shirts. I had a 5th year of college. And so I actually got 2 degrees. I got my accounting and business degree, and then I earned my MBA degree my last year as an athlete there, and did very well. And the team finished on a high note. From where we were at when I first got there to where we were when I left, the team had transformed, and we brought in some good coaches and a lot of effort and a lot of great players and teammates. that experience has stayed with me throughout my life. I got married, became a CPA, an accountant in the United States, and worked really hard to work my way up the ladder, and was a managing partner at a CPA firm. And
so basically, like this decision when you were like 11, 12 is what made you become one of the best, because you decided to change, like from being like I don't care, whatever,
right.
to I am this and I'm going to make it, whatever I set myself to, I will achieve it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting for me, and I relate to this. So, our physical body is really always giving us information, right? And so here I was, this kid who was not athletic, and I, was made fun of and all, bullied when I was younger and all that kind of stuff, and couldn't play sports because I was just too heavy for the football and that kind of thing. And I was not interested in sports really. And making that decision to push myself way outside my comfort zone made all the difference, because it gave me confidence in myself. Physical activity, right? Of moving my body and using my mind and my body together, and the discipline of it I really enjoyed. And I always would practice, even practicing on weekends. What kid goes and practices on an obstacle course at 12 or 13 years old? But I was driven to be better. And I think that drive has always stayed with me. And I've always been pushing myself.
And I think what happens also is, like, if you don't want to do anything, but you kind of know that something is not right and you're not feeling good, and then all of a sudden you decide to commit yourself. Because I think it's like the committing to yourself is opposite to my mom told me that if I do this, I'll get that, or whatever other type of commitment you want to do. It's to yourself first. And then the little steps that make you feel better. And so then that kind of becomes addictive, because,
Absolutely.
you can get more and more and more and more, and you just never stop then.
Right. And I think too, and I'll, total transparency for you and your listeners and subscribers. I was not growing up in a nurturing home environment. Okay. And around the same time that this was going on at school, I realized that I had power over my life. And my mother tried to hit me. And I'm sure I said something smart alecky or whatever to my mom. And she tried to hit me, and my hand just automatically went up to block her right hook. And then she tried with her left, and my other hand went up and blocked that, right? And she looked at me. She's like, look close, this close, right?
Yeah.
And looked at me, and like in utter frustration and disgust, she turned her way and walked away from me. And then I said, okay, now I have power over my life.
Wow.
Right?
That's
and that happened at about the same time, right? And so it was this whole mind shift going on for me about what it meant for me to be successful in life. And I was always, like I said, I was always good in the classroom. I loved learning. But I think, expressing myself physically, it's just, my body wasn't ready until then. You know what I mean? My body, it wasn't that I mean, back in those days, you didn't have fast food and stuff. It wasn't a real dietary thing. I do love sweets, but we didn't have that much money, so we didn't have a lot of sweets at home. And I think just putting myself out there and building that confidence really made a difference, about owning my own power. And I was ready. It was a time in my life when I was ready, and I just, quite honestly, followed my gut feeling, my intuition about this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to accomplish. And it just gave me so much more confidence to live the rest of my life and do things that I never thought I would do.
And that's amazing. Like it's like, it's there. Like your story is about the power of your mind, how you can become something you could never think of, just switching that thought process that we always have about complaining about stuff or not thinking we will ever become something. It's just all there. And of course, fueled by all other reasons, anger and whatever other things that were going on. But it's just a different way of focusing your life on, what it's like Abraham Hicks says, if you put your energy on something, that's going to happen. Right. And if you put your energy on the negative thoughts, that's what you are going to attract. But if you want something good, you have to think good things, right?
That's right. Absolutely. And I'm a big follower of Jack Canfield, and he's a big proponent of the law of attraction the Success Principles book, mm-hmm. which is, mine's kind of worn out. I have one over here.
Yeah, I have one.
I use it I mark it up and I teach people that. And actually I started doing I'm actually following working on being certified as a Jack Canfield trainer, just because I've been using his stuff and I feel like I should go ahead and do that, so I feel more ethical, right? Because I read his information, his books, and I share and I coach people, work with people, executives and people I work with.
Yeah.
So so I had those little things, and they seem like such kind of small decisions, but made such a big impact in my life. But going through that experience, helped me to achieve much more greater things in my life. So it helped me to, when I was in high school, to learn how to play football and to be a better football player and play at a high level. And then in college, to be successful and it's very stressful in college. It's a full-time job playing college football in America, and then going to class and everything. And, along the way, you have people or coaches that sort of give you some information or some feedback, that makes a big difference. And, I tell my clients a lot of time, I had a teammate on my team, and it was in between games during the football season, and we were having lunch together as a team. And one of my teammates said to me, "Fenton, you know what your problem is? You think too much." And he was right. So I stopped thinking so much and I just started playing more, and I had much more fun playing. And so I try to coach executives. Sometimes we just get caught trapped in our head thinking like that. And I had lots of experiences in college that helped me grow as a man and as a leader. Just huge learning experiences for me. And even to at one point where I hurt my knee very badly and had major surgery. And I had one more year left, and I came back and had to win my position back, and I did, and I played that last year. But the focus of achieving that, and so to me it was very clear, very tangible goals, to accomplish something and to then actually get close or achieve it. Now I could have, in that situation, I may never have played another down in a football game because there are a lot of things outside my control,
Yeah.
The coaches could have decided to use the younger player who played the year earlier when I got hurt. They could have had a different idea, or I could have gotten hurt again, or something else could have happened, but I was able to put myself in position. And I'll never forget. So the first day of practice for that last year, I have a picture of this that I use when I do my presentations. This picture was on the front cover of the Miami Herald newspaper.
Ooh.
And it's all the linemen are lined up and we're getting ready to run. It's the first step of this run, and it's called the 12-minute run. And coach had us do this the very first day back from practice to see what kind of shape we were in. And I was determined to finish first because I was determined to show that I was back and I was ready. And I did finish first. And a few weeks later, I'll say they went with age over beauty, and they chose me to be the starting. I played center, offensive center. And they chose me to take over that role. And I played the whole season without injury. And we had a great season and won a bowl game and finished ranked 18th in the country and played with some great athletes who went on to the NFL and had really good careers in the NFL, great careers like Jim Kelly and some other greats who played, a Hall of Fame quarterback. But it was such a great experience for me to go through those things and to really learn about team building and teamwork, and also to challenge myself. And then I got married, became an accountant. As I said, I became a managing partner and ran a very successful practice in Atlanta, Georgia with BDO USA, which is BDO is one of the top 5 international CPA firms.
Okay.
And very big presence in London, in the UK.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I've been to our UK office a few times in the past, and I was very successful with that. And along the way, I was under a lot. We were transforming the business and under a lot of stress, and I really felt the stress was palpable, and I could really feel the emotions of my teammates and the people working for us, and my partners and I really dug in, and we really tried to create an environment where people could thrive and be successful. And we were just transforming the business, and we were taking on new clients, and it was a very dynamic time in the marketplace. And we were bringing in, good people. And we didn't have enough of the good people we really needed to really grow the practice, the business, the way we needed to. We worked really hard at that. And we got great people on board. We nurtured the people we had on our team. And the stress was palpable to me, and I felt stressed myself. And so one day I've discovered yoga and Tai Chi and meditation. I was walking from a business meeting and saw this big sign that said yoga and Tai Chi. And I walked into the center. I met with the young Korean gentleman dressed all in black. And we sat down, we were talking, and there was a big banner that said Tai Chi, the way of limitless energy. Find your center. And I looked at the sign and I looked at him and I said, I want to do that. And so we worked together one-on-one for over a year. And I became a black belt in Tai Chi and master in meditation. I've taught people in these techniques. I've been with great masters and great teachers on week-long meditation retreats and Tai Chi retreats, foothills of the Colorado Rockies and literally the top of a mountain. Wow. And this has been a great experience, a great learning experience. And it helped me be a better leader. It helped me be a better father and husband. And
why was that?
I think a lot of it is we have a lot of information coming into our brains, right? And sometimes it can create a lot of doubt. And I had lost the connection to my body. So as an athlete, you have to be very focused on mind and body connection so you can perform well, right? Yeah. Well, in the business world, there's no outlet for all this activity. And physical activity is great because you're burning off energy. And, as a young person, I had a lot of anxiety growing up, and athletics really kind of helped me deal with that. And when you're working, you got family and you got business and you're working a lot and you're not working out as much. You're not physically as active as you were. And it's a whole different thing. And so, so I lost that connection. So Tai Chi and meditation and yoga and those types of things help you to rebuild that body-mind connection. And so what happens is you become more clear, you become more centered. Yeah. So you have better mastery over your emotions.
Which is what we all need.
Right. I mean, so I could get, and we talked about using anger. I could get really angry at stuff at work, right? And I'd bottle it up and I'd come home and probably explode, that kind of thing. And working a lot of hours, there's a lot of stress. And so what happened was I was able to just be more clear, more centered. My emotional IQ improved dramatically. I was a better listener, right? So I was connecting one-on-one better with clients and with colleagues and employees and at home with my family. And it just made me, I was much more productive because I had much more clarity. Yeah. And so things that would come, things from outside of you, outside stimulus and influence can affect you emotionally. But when you're in a centered state, you can react to that differently. Much more concisely and decisively and that sort of thing. So
you can also decide not to be taken out by whatever happens around you. You can just, put your boundaries in the right place.
Exactly. Absolutely. The things that would piss me off didn't upset me so much, or I would step back and take a few breaths. And I actually teach this to executives. I teach them how to breathe. I guide them through a short 5-minute meditation, which I have in my book, 5-Minute Mastery, which is on Amazon. And
you'll tell us about the book in a minute.
I will. And
I'm not going to let you go without telling us about the book.
Okay, got it. So anyway, I use these techniques for myself to help me be a better leader, and that's how I help coach executives. So I was very successful. We were doing great. I found this practice, and it helped me be a better leader. And about 7 years ago, I was at the doctor's office and I was doing a stress test, and I'm on the treadmill and I'm running. The doctor rushes in and says, "Lie down." calling an ambulance.
Wow.
They rushed me to the hospital, and my heart was just beating really fast, super fast, tachycardia, they call it. And they rushed me to the hospital. They take me into the cardiac ward, into the operating room. They're going to perform a heart catheterization, which is a test to see if there's any blockages or damage in the heart. And right before they insert the catheter into my body, I pass out. And the last thing I remember was my wife and my daughter, my wife, Vicky, my daughter, Jennifer. And when I recovered, when I came back to consciousness, the first thing I saw and thought about were my wife and my daughter. And I started to, was going through the healing process after that. There was no damage. It was an electrical problem, no physical damage to my heart other than an irregular heartbeat. Went through about 6 months of a healing process and started to think about, well, what's going on? And my body is trying to tell me something, right?
Yeah.
And right. And so I decided I'd been contemplating early retirement from my firm. But I wasn't sure when I was going to do that. And I decided that the time was right for me to take early retirement. And I was eligible for it. So I did about 6 years ago and began my path to become what I do now: executive coaching, team building, leading workshops and retreats, one-on-one and for groups of executives, business people. And kind of, took a little bit of time off when I retired and enjoyed life a little bit. And then actually ran a yoga and Tai Chi center for a year and a half. Most executive coaches haven't done that, right? Great experience. Really honed my skills and really helped me to connect more deeply with people that I work with. And then the company I was doing, the company actually asked me to reopen that center and stabilize it and manage it, which I did. And they were able to sell it to a third party as a franchise. And I decided to move more into executive coaching, and I started a path of doing that to an organization called Vistage International worldwide. This executive coaching program and team concept, peer group concept. And I built a group there through that process, became a certified coach with them and built a group. But there was something inside of me that said, I need to be doing more out in the world. And so I was a Vistage coach for about a year and a half. I'm now a Vistage speaker. I speak to Vistage groups. I decided to transition my members to other coaches to focus solely on what I'm doing now. And I rebranded myself a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, wrote my book, and was having a great deal of success to really help executives be the best that they can be and to really help them. And I think it's so important because we have so many demands on our time and our lives. And I work with people who are successful people who just don't feel like they have enough time for themselves or their families. One of the big questions I ask them is, what do you want more of?
And what's the answer normally?
Many times it's more time, right? More time. Through my work career and that, I had some beliefs that I built up through my experiences about how to conduct myself in work and how to be a business leader and all those things. And there were some of those were sort of like myths, really. So one of those myths was time is always on my side. I have time for me later to help me fix me. I'll fix everything else outside, but I'll focus on me later, right?
Yeah, I'll catch up.
And I had that event 7 years ago. That was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And really needed to focus more on what Dan Kennedy and Jack Canfield talk about, which is your zone of genius or area of genius, your unique genius, right?
Yeah.
What it is you're really, really good at that you love doing, is you can do all day long, right? And that's where I'm playing at now and helping executives and entrepreneurs.
That's amazing. I think, when you get to a certain point in your career, you also have a lot of expectations from other people and the ones that you put on yourself, aside from the stress that it's common for every executive. So I think it's beautiful that you're doing that, considering that you've gone through the Tai Chi and meditation bit, which I think now we're coming to a space where those things are starting to become important and people are starting to realize how important is the mind as much as the body.
Hmm.
and how to really center yourself, because otherwise you're all over the places.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I do a lot of reading. I do read, business reading and
Mm-hmm.
leadership and team building, and also, you know, books about meditation and things of that nature. I'm always trying to expand my knowledge base and my skill set, because I want to continue to contribute and make and deliver real value to my members and my customers, right? And so I was reading something recently where, meditate. We have this idea about meditation, right? It's sort of like this weird thing that we kind of do. We know a little bit about it, maybe.
Mm,
Really, meditation is really a very natural thing.
mm,
It's contemplation, and it's being totally in the present moment,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, athletes talk about being in what they call being in the zone, right?
yeah.
Or artists talk about being in the flow,
Flow.
right? And it's just where everything just flies, right? So I remember in college, this didn't happen a lot to me, but I remember when I was playing college football, and there was this one game against University of Louisville, and my team is actually playing them this weekend. And there was a very good linebacker on that team, Otis Wilson, an All-American linebacker. He played in the NFL. And there was one play. So I played offensive line or center. If you probably don't know about American football that much. But
Not really, but all the Americans will know what you talk about.
Right. So, the center is a person who takes the ball and gives it to the quarterback. Okay. And that's what I was. I was the center. And so you're in the center, you can see the whole field. You can see everything that's going on in front. And you have to be really aware. Right? You have to be very mindful. You have to know the snap count. You have to listen to the quarterback. You have to communicate with the lineman. You have to read what's going on in front of you to communicate. And I could see the linebacker. I could see the linebacker, Otis Wilson, sneaking up a little bit. And I thought, I had this instant, this all happens in a matter of less than a few seconds. And I just felt like he was going to try to shoot the gap and try to get to the quarterback. And I had to react. I had to snap, I had to make the snap, give the ball to the quarterback, and react instantaneously. And I could see, it was almost like I could see it in slow motion before it happened, right? And I just knew he was going to do that. So I made the snap. I gave the ball to the quarterback, and I moved over, and I just got enough of the linebacker so he didn't kill the quarterback. Thank goodness. Jim Kelly was very happy for that. But those are, you can kind of you're just so in the flow and so in that present moment. And, and our lives are so busy.
Yeah.
With so much information coming at us, it's hard
and
to
I
stay
like
present.
that you said that, because it's so true that we do all those things all and over and over and over and over. It's just that we don't call it meditation.
Right.
Or we don't call, I think we're all observers. We all listen at some points in our lives, but it's kind of like we forget that this is a natural part of ourselves. We do that.
Right.
Anyway,
it's very natural.
So we do it in different phases of our lives, in different situations, but we're always in a constant meditative side, meditative mood,
right.
because I forgot the words that I wanted to use. But we do this, and they just like, a moment you say meditation, people are like, oh no, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
Or just thinking, if you are in the shower or you're taking a bath and you're just relaxing and trying not to think about anything, that could be like your beginning of the meditation, and people just don't think about it.
I had clients that were like, they like to run, right? Yeah. That's a great time to really focus. People can clear your mind very quickly and just focus on the running and feeling the key to me, what I learned from some great teachers is this, and we don't always think about this, I don't think. I was in a training with a master, a teacher, meditation training, and she kept saying, be in the feeling, be in the feeling, be in the feeling. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? She goes, what do you feel in your body? What's the physical feeling in your body? When you connect with your body and just feel what you feel. Yeah. It's so hard for us to do that, right? Yeah. Because there's so much information and stuff rolling around in our heads. And so when you're able to focus into your body, and there's a very great way to do that, simply through your breathing. That's the one bodily function that you have control over. Yeah. Right? Your body has all these autonomic functions that happen every day, but you can regulate your breathing, very simple process, and just connect with yourself. Just feel that feeling of your chest rising and falling with each breath. and just focus into your body just for a few minutes, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And it can make all the difference. And it helps you just kind of reset.
Yeah.
There's actually research that says our brains require downtime about every 55 minutes or so. And just taking a 5-minute break, if you can take a longer break, that's awesome. And, I encourage my clients, take 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening, focus on your breathing and focus on gratitude and
That's
appreciation.
Big part. Yeah.
I mean, in the business world, appreciation is so underutilized.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because everybody has deadlines and demands and stuff. But when you actually have authentic appreciation for the people you work with and finding the good in them, and they all have good talents and capabilities, and acknowledging those in an authentic way can make all the difference.
Yeah, because also your perception changes of the situation and the people, and you don't really realize until you start doing it how gratitude really helps you to see things in a different way. Because the moment you start to be grateful for, I don't know, your colleague or that person of the team that has just done something for you or just did the job perfectly, you start to see things in a completely different way, and then you start to rise up your vibration and your mood, and your responses change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about your book. So tell us about your book.
Well, my book.
Unless you wanted to continue with something else, and sorry if I interrupted you there, but
that's okay. No, let's
go ahead, whatever you want to talk about.
Great. Let's talk about the book. Okay. Here's the book, 5-Minute Mastery. It's on Amazon. And it's the surprising secrets for transforming your stress to success and mastering what's important. It's a book I wrote last year. It was the #1 new release and a bestseller on Amazon. It's really about some of my life's experience growing up and different things in business and sort of lessons I've learned as a father, a husband, a business leader. And I actually share some techniques on how to focus your mind.
Okay.
Very simple process. And how to really kind of zero in on what's most important to you in your life and how do you want to carry your life forward. And also some principles around, from a corporate team setting, some principles around successful culture, team culture that's based on trust. Trust is so important, right?
So important.
And so I have some free bonus items as well in the book. When you get the book, there's some free, there's an audio recording and a video recording that's free to whoever buys the book. It's my way of sharing my message going forward. It was something I had an idea to write a couple of years ago, and finally made it happen last year. I was very proud of that, to achieve that. And it's part of my calling card, if you will, about what I do and how I help executives and entrepreneurs to have the best teams and the best lives that they can have.
Oh, I love this. And I love the whole conversation. I like that, like there is so much focus on the mind and the body in the corporate, because I think like there is too much attention on, as you said, deadlines and doing and becoming, and not so much attention on the people around us, the things around us, and the things within us. And you spoke about trust, which I completely resonate with, because I had experiences where, there was such a toxic environment because the leaders weren't able to trust themselves, and therefore they wouldn't trust the people they were working with. And you had to always feel like you had to back yourself up in some kind of way. And I think once you have trust and your leaders are also in a better place, you work in a better way.
Absolutely. I have a saying that I use. Everything flows from you as the leader.
I love
that. So whatever you want to create in your life or in your business, it starts with you. Take 100% responsibility for everything, right? And so whatever mood you're in your people are gonna react to that, right?
Yeah.
Whatever mindset you're in, people are gonna react to that. Our thoughts and emotions are energy, and we feel those things intuitively, energetically. We feel those things, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. It's true. It does happen. And so, where do you want to take your company? Like, where do you want to be? Do you want to complain all the time about your team and your people? They don't work hard enough. The big discussion, millennials, right? Right. Which I think is millennials get a bad rap. My daughter's a millennial. She works very hard. And
let's put
right. It's a whole nother, right.
No, but it's true, and probably millennial is the generation that has been more affected by this.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So one of my workshops I was leading, I was in Coral Gables a week and a half ago, and I was leading 2 workshops, and one of the workshops was around team building. So in the group were, baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. I think I'm actually a millennial in a baby boomer's body, I think. There were, Gen Xers, and there were, millennials, and a whole bunch of other folks in between. I don't remember all the generations things. And so I had this whole, series of slides we're going through, and this process I was going through. And one of the millennials spoke up and had something to share. So she shared it. That opened the doors up to a great conversation. So what was supposed to be an hour presentation turned into an hour and 40 minutes. The host said, "Okay, you got 5 minutes left." I said, "Okay, great." It just flew, but everyone was so engaged in the conversation, and I was just there kind of guiding the process and guiding the process, but it was in guiding the flow of the conversation. But it was just, everybody was so engaged, and everybody said, "That's the best workshop we've had." And it was so fulfilling for me to be able to connect with everybody in that way, and to really let that evolve and flow the way it did. And I said, "Look, here's the thing. Everybody, do you know anybody who here does not like to receive praise or appreciation, authentic appreciation? Like, nobody's complained about receiving too much praise, right?" And I said, relationships, it's so important about relationships. When you want to have trust, you have to have relationships. When you want your customers to trust you, you have to build a relationship. Well, how do you do that? Face to face. Technology is great, and all the social media, all that stuff is great. Those are great tools, but at the end of the day, the key is really building relationship, one-on-one, face to face. So I have them actually do an exercise where people sit around a table and they share appreciation for each other. It's a whole process we go through. It is so powerful.
It is.
It's so powerful.
At Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success last year, and he got us 4 people together. So he got us to do a couple of exercises where we're sharing bits and pieces of while we were there, whatever it is. And then at the end, he got us to do an exercise where one of the 4 will just write down everything good that the other people will say about one of the other person. So it was like in turns. And before that, you had to write what you thought of yourself. And it was amazing, because there were all these appreciative things about you. And I was like, how did you know? I mean, I spoke with you for 5 minutes,
Right.
Like, I've never seen you before in my life. We just got together because we had to do this exercise, and you got me right there. And they also said things that, when you don't appreciate yourself enough, but they were all saying the exact same thing. 3 people saying to you the exact same thing about you. And I was like, okay, but it's so powerful. It pumps you up, and it makes you feel so good. And also, I think it helps you see that what you think of yourself sometimes is still negative. You just have to let go a little bit of that self-negative talk that we always have.
We do have that, don't we? It's kind of self-limiting conversations and beliefs that kind of hold us back, right? And it's a very powerful tool, and just doing it face to face is so powerful and so important, and it just elevates the energy for everybody.
Yeah.
And then the key to that in a business setting is the follow-up, right? You gotta find a way, have a system in place to continue to follow up on that. Not that you have to do that exercise all the time, but to continue to acknowledge people and have a system in place where everybody feels like they want to belong and contribute. Right? I think, right?
Yeah.
There's people that may not feel that way, but you'll identify those people in your organizations, right? Because not every organization is for every person. Right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, so it's culture, a fit, whatever it might be. But when everybody feels like they're part of the team and they're contributing, and you can trust each other. As I mentioned early on, I had great experience as a collegiate athlete. I've played on some really great teams, and I've played on some really terrible, awful teams. And one of the key determining factors between greatness and being terrible is the level of trust.
Yeah.
Trusting in your teammates, trusting in the people you're with, that they're going to get their job done and you can work together, right? And, Patrick Lencioni's author of many, many books. One is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And the base, he has a pyramid that he shows. The base of that is, the base pillar is trust, the level of trust in the organization. And when you continue to when people get to know each other more and they share more about each other, right? And they share appreciation and they just share themselves authentically, the barriers start to come down a little bit, and there's more and more trust is built.
Yeah.
And that can only help to make organizations better and your life better.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Okay, so now I'd love to stay and talk to you forever because I love this conversation. We have to wrap it up.
Okay.
So tell us where we can find you.
Yes.
And if you have anything going on, like a program or something. And then after that, I'd like you to give our audience like a tip on maybe on the executive listening to us on how to be better people or work better, whatever you feel
Awesome.
it's important for them to hear.
Great. Well, you can find me on my website, www.johnjfenton.com. Also, for all your listeners, they can get a free downloadable PDF. I call it the 5-day, 5-minute challenge, and this ties into my tip. And it's
the free guide is on the website, right?
Yeah, so it's you do go to the website /5-day challenge.
Okay.
So www.johnjfenton.com /5-day challenge.
Okay.
They can get the free downloadable PDF, and this ties directly into the tip I have for your listeners and your subscribers. You go to my website. There's lots of information out there. Also, if they want to schedule a free strategy session with me, they can do that. There's a link to do that on my website as well, and a calendar. And so the tip is this, and it really ties into my book, 5-Minute Mastery. So in the matter of a few moments, everything can change in your life. Everything can change. You could be here one day and not the next. And we always think time is always on our side. So here's a tip. If you want to change something in your life, you need to change your thinking, right? Your thinking, your thoughts are based on your past experience, that sort of thing. Sometimes, past experience, we interpret them when we have a belief and a thought and a belief and an emotion. So if we want to change something in our life, the first thing to do is to start with you. As a leader, everything flows from you. So take 5 minutes. I recommend 5 minutes in the morning, just 5 minutes, to sit with sit in a chair or on the floor, or you can stand too, but sitting is, I think, is just better, more comfortable. Keep your back straight, just focus on your breathing. All right, so breathe in through your nose gently and exhale through your mouth very slowly. And do that process. As you breathe out through your mouth, you're releasing tension from your body and focusing on your breath. Feel the sensations in your body and think of nothing else. Just focus on, what am I feeling in my body? Do that process for 5 minutes. Do that in the morning and do that in the evening before you go to bed. At the end of the 5 minutes, just think about the things that you're grateful for. Maybe 3 to 5 things you're grateful for or that you appreciate. Breathe into your gratitude and enjoy the things and success you've had in your life. And do this for 5 days, a minimum of 5 days. You can do it for 30 days is even more awesome. And just watch yourself. See if there's anything that changes in your life. That's my tip.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much, John. This has been such a great conversation. I loved absolutely talking to you about and listening to your story.
Thank you, Maura. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. And for everybody watching and listening, all the details will be on the show notes and below on the video if you're watching on YouTube. If you like this episode, please subscribe, please give us some stars, and please leave a comment and let us know if there is anything that you want to add, and if this conversation has made a difference for you in some kind of way. If there is anything that you take away, we would like to hear. So you can do that either on iTunes or on Spotify or on my website, The Intuition Queen. You see all the details below, so you can go check it out. We would like to hear from you, and you can get in touch with John anytime you want and download his challenge and do what he suggested you to do. If you want to get in touch with me, just go to theintuitionqueen.com or look for me everywhere on The Intuition Queen anyway. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening. And I'll speak to you next week. Bye. Ciao. Ciao, John.
Ciao, Bella.
Bye.
Your mind is clearer than before. Your heart is full and wanting more. Your future's at the door.